Hey guys, this is going to be a really uncomfortable video for me to make, but this channel is about the dark truth of adoption. So this is actually, whenever I'm speaking for the future children that are going to be adopted in the adoptive homes. And if anybody out there is watching that is an adoptee, it's to help identify with some of the struggles that are common in adoption. And because adoption can be so isolating, it is for those people that may be looking for answers that, could be denied by society and they don't understand how they feel. And then for adoptive parents to learn, what goes on inside of the mind of an adopted child. And, I can just speak from my experience. It's my unique experience in my own adoption. And I just really hope it can help you in some sort of way. It is hard to listen to. It's hard to talk about. None of this is fun for me, but I hope it does help show you what you should do or what you shouldn't do. And yeah, I guess I'm just going to get started. So going no contact with my adoptive father for my health, meaning my mental health, my emotional health, my self-esteem, my confidence. I had to do this for me. So let me just read this. I typed it because this is a really hard video for me to make. This message is to all hopeful adoptive parents on what not to do, what to do, and what to educate yourself on, because I believe it's truly unnecessary. It costs very little to fix why this happened. And none of this is fun for me. Like I said, this has been mostly heartbreak and loss throughout my life. So this is me and my dad, obviously, just showing that he adopted me when I was a very, very young baby. And it's not fun for me to make this video. It's very heartbreaking. And it's very uncomfortable. So the main reasons that I went no contact started very young. My dad was very argumentative, no compassion. And most of all, he made up lies. They were small lies, they were big lies about a bunch of different things. Basically, I would ask him a bunch of questions, and he would just make up stuff that later on I'd find out that were just completely untrue. And this I would be made fun of in front of my friends. I would say something that he told me, and their parents would say that, no, that's not true. And it was just, I ended up just finding out that he would make stuff up a lot that would end up just being completely false about stupid things. And I lost trust for him at a very young age. Gaslighting, either intentionally or unintentionally. He gaslit me about my race. He would not tell me my race. And this is not, I actually do not blame him for this. I do believe that adopting in the 80s, they told you that it's better to not tell you that you're a certain race and that we would blend in, and that being raised in a white family would be better for me. So I actually really do not think that it is his fault. I think it was the adoption agencies. But he did unintentionally gaslight me about, what I am, saying it didn't matter. I didn't know if I was Asian. I didn't know if I was Japanese or Mexican or Native American. I mean, I really didn't know what I was. I didn't know if I was black or white. And we lived in an all-white neighborhood. So, yeah, about my adoption, he wouldn't tell me the truth about me being fostered until I was 4. I found that out just a couple years ago. He gaslit me about my internal grief, the loss of my family. He made fun of other races in front of me. He would talk shit about black people, like in jobs he was in, and just random conversations at the dinner table. And I would just sit there like, dude, are you seriously saying this right now? Like, I'm not white. Like, I know I'm not white. Like, why are you talking like this? So there was zero connection between me and my father. He was always a stranger to me. There was no connection ever. No matter how much I tried to listen or what I tried to change, he never really showed interest in listening to me about my adoption. Every time I would try to talk about it, it would be some sort of like, how dare you say that? It was just very clear that I was not to talk about my adoption. Anything surrounding my adoption was always him in the light of being a savior. And of course, he would never admit that he was a savior, but everybody, if you look around at adoption, parents are praised for adopting and never, ever, ever questioned. And they get all the praise while the adoptees are shunned and treated very poorly by society. So he had no other reason to think any different. So I don't really blame him on that either. It was always important to me, and I never got to talk about it in any open way without feeling like it was obvious that there was not a subject to speak about. He never stood up for me around bullying, racism, family, friends treating me like shit. It was made clear I was the lucky one, and everyone else can treat me bad in front of him behind his back. Even if I brought it up, he would just tell me things like Jesus turned the other cheek. No matter what I told him that people said or did to me, I went through a ton of racism in Georgia and in the all-white neighborhood. And he would frequently, every time I would come to him, he would just say, you know, that's really bad. You don't fight back. We don't believe in violence. And I would have to deal with it completely alone. And I was very suicidal growing up because of that. I felt completely isolated and orphaned in my own home. So after my adopted mom died, this is basically one of the biggest things that made me go no contact. After my adopted mom died, I was in a horrible place. My dad came to me a few weeks after my mom passed and said, we're cutting ties, I'm giving you some money, and said that's it. Like, we never had a relationship. Like, it was that bad. It always seemed to me like it was a transaction that went bad. Like, he got an adopted child, and I was not what he expected. I was difficult to deal with because I didn't know I was grieving, and it was just a really bad situation for everybody involved. It was clear he didn't know how to listen. It was a one-sided relationship where I had to listen to him or be quiet, or we would argue. Plus, he's known to make stuff up, like I said. So it's really hard to tell when he's telling the truth or not. So I chose to go no contact for my own mental health. Every time I was around him, I really felt bad about myself, or like I was a pawn and I had to pretend like I was a good, grateful adoptee. Like you can see in my pictures, I was always smiling, always happy, because that's how society makes us to be. And if you ever take a picture, you usually smile. So that's why I look happy in all my pictures. But behind the scenes is a very different story. I would get verbally punished, or, you know, he did make money. So he would use money as a manipulation tactic to basically, that's how I think it's his love language. He would buy you things if he did something to make you feel guilty or something like that. He would use money as like showing love or affection. And so after realizing my adoption wasn't really about me, it was about my parents getting a son. They didn't really want to help with my needs of race or understanding what adoption was really about, helping a child that's lost his family, or learning about the 7 core issues and grieving. I really realized there's no point in continuing the relationship if it's one-sided. And this may seem very offensive, this may seem controversial, but this is just my real story. So my advice to all adopted parents is to educate yourself on the trauma that comes with being relinquished, the 7 core issues of adoption, race, fully support your child's race, heritage, search for their biological family, validate and acknowledge their trauma and issues, let them talk openly about their adoption, race, biological family, and get them around other adoptees that say they feel like they connect with them. That's the most important. You can get them around other adoptees that just completely in denial and say they're grateful, and that's the end of the conversation. But getting around other adoptees has been vital for me. It's been very, very, very helpful in my identity and my self-esteem and confidence. And that's it. Yeah, this is not a fun video for me to make. This is truly to help the next generation of adoptees or anybody out there struggling. And yeah, I hope this helps.